Hello students. So today through this video I will be discussing about an important part of human anatomy and physiology, and this particular system which I am going to talk, that is called the endocrine system. So endocrine system mainly consists of several glands and glandular cells which bring about the overall function of chemical in the body. Now these endocrine glands, they secrete certain chemicals and we call them as hormones. Most hormones are secreted by special glands, mainly we call them as endocrine glands. Endo, the meaning of endo is, and crine means separate. So secrete internally, also called ductless glands. So endocrine glands are also called as ductless glands because these secretions are poured directly into the blood and through any special duct. Thus we call them as ductless gland. Hormone, this is that particular secretion mainly originated glands glands. So these are the it is a secretion from some glandular part of the body which is poured directly into blood and which acts on the target organs or cells of the same individual. And then these hormone bringing about coordination between distant parts of the body. So this way hormone, they are controlling or coordinating our body system through chemical means, and we call them as chemical messenger. So for this hormone which is coming out from the endocrine gland, it has some particular properties. What are those properties? Hormones are secreted from main source, mainly and gland, and poured directly into the blood. They target organs or cells usually away from their source. They are produced in very small quantities, biologically active. They are very active. If we observe the classification of hormone on the basis of their chemical nature, so chemically some hormones are peptides like insulin, are amines, that means they mainly derived from amino acids such as adrenaline, and some are steroids, mainly derived from cholesterol such as testosterone. So we can say that insulin is a proteinaceous or peptide hormone, adrenaline is a amine or amine hormone, we can say this, and testosterone is a steroid hormone. Another important property of hormone is that hormones are not stored in the body and are excreted from our system. So these are the general properties of hormones. So in this endocrine system, the part which mainly constitute this endocrine system, and we call them as endocrine glands. So in the human body there are different kind of endocrine glands are present. So just see, I'm magnifying the image here. So you can see here that this this is the hypothalamus. This is not an endocrine gland, it is a neurosecretory cell. It is mainly controlling the activity of pituitary gland. This is the pituitary gland here, which is present here in the base of the stem of the brain. And these pituitary gland, they are controlling the activity of other endocrine glands. Okay, like thyroid, like this adrenal gland, mainly the adrenal cortex, then pancreas, okay, and also the gonadotropin stimulating hormone. So these are the locations of the endocrine glands in the human body. So first here it is given hypothalamus. So it is mainly controlling our body temperature. It is this particular part, it mainly releases the releasing hormone. Okay, and these releasing hormone, they are stimulating over the pituitary gland, and then further pituitary gland through their tropic hormones, they are controlling the activity of other endocrine glands, and thus we call the pituitary gland as master gland. There is the, I'm just talking about the part which is mainly there in your syllabus. So here the important gland one is thyroid, which is present at the neck part, and at the back part of the thyroid, parathyroid glands are diffused. Then this is the thymus, which is mentioned here. It is just above the heart, and it is very prominent in the childhood, and it becomes start disappearing, not disappear totally, the structures become minute in case of adult, and it is also releasing one hormone thymine, so it is also called endocrine gland. Adrenal gland, which is located at the tip part of the kidney. You can see adrenal gland, and it has two main part, adrenal cortex and the adrenal medulla. This is the kidney, and it mainly present, these are the two kidneys, and adrenal glands, these are located at the tip of the kidney. At the abdominal part we have another gland, just wait, we have another gland. This is the another gland which they are showing here, and that is this particular gland here which they are showing, that is known as pancreas. So this is pancreas gland. And for the female body, there is the ovary, and it is releasing one important hormone, estrogen, that is controlling the female sexual characters, and also it is helping in the development of the female reproductive parts. And from the male body, if you observe the male body, the testis is the important part for the male body, because it is the main male gonads, and they are also releasing one important hormone, that is called testosterone, and they are controlling the male sexual characteristics and male bodily functions. So this is about the location and the importance of the different endocrine glands, and through this picture actually I have evaluated about this. So now come to the point. So this part already I have discussed. Just wait. Okay, now come to the next. Now yeah, I'm going to discuss about the different major endocrine glands which are present in the human body. So first endocrine gland which I have discussed, which I am going to discuss here, that is the adrenal gland. So adrenal glands, as I already mentioned in the figure, that it is mainly as a cap on the tip of the each kidney, and these adrenal gland mainly consists of two parts. One is the outer part, that is called the adrenal cortex, and another is the central medulla part, that is called adrenal medulla. Now this adrenal medulla secretes adrenaline hormone, and it is also called as epinephrine hormone. Now this adrenaline hormone, what it is doing, it mainly prepares the body to meet any emergency situation. Whenever the body, they are facing any kind of emergency situation, that time adrenaline they are releasing from the adrenal medulla, and they are just giving the signal instruction to the body either to fight or to flight from the situation. Okay, so for fight, that means to face danger, or for flight, that means to escape from the situation. So it is also called as fight or flight hormone. So this adrenaline, it mainly showing different important responses in our bodily part. Like on heart, what kind of response is it showing? In due to the effects of the adrenaline, the heartbeats become faster, and it also increases the blood pressure level. If we observe the breathing center of the brain, and the effects of adrenaline, if you observe on this brain particular portion, it helping in the faster and deeper breathing. So it accelerates the breathing activity process of the brain. Then if you observe the liver, this liver, which is helping in storing important nutrients of our body. So this adrenaline, it also having one important effect on the liver, and it mainly helps to convert the glucose into the glycogen. So in the conversion of glycogen to glucose, so this way it mainly storing the excess amount of sugar or glucose in our body. Now, this adrenaline, we call them as emergency hormone because it mainly releases during the time of emergency, and it mainly increases heartbeat accompanied by an increase in blood pressure. It increases blood supply to the muscles, and more glucose is released into the blood by the liver. So these important functions are mainly controlled by the adrenaline hormone, and this mainly happen during the emergency time, and thus we call them as emergency hormone. So this is about the adrenal medulla part. Now if we observe the adrenal cortex part, this adrenal cortex, it mainly secretes many hormones, but the best known hormone is called as cortisone hormone. Now, the cortical hormones, that means adrenal cortical hormones, we can categorize them as mineralocorticoids that mainly regulate mineral metabolism, especially sodium ion and potassium ions. Glucocorticoid, that is another important hormone secreted by the adrenal cortex, and that is also under the group of cortical hormone. And this hormone regulates carbohydrate, protein, and fat metabolism. So if there is an overgrowth of adrenal cortex in a mature woman happens, she develops certain male characteristics such as a beard and a deep male voice, and such type of condition then known as adrenal virulism. In Latin word virilism, that is a Latin word, and the meaning of this virilism is maleness. So in the female body, when maleness generated, that means it is mainly due to the over secretion of or the overgrowth of the adrenal cortex. Now if there is any kind of fluctuation occurred in the secretion level of the adrenal cortex, then it mainly showing some element in the body, like if there is a hyposecretion happens from the adrenal cortex, then it causes Addison's disease. And if there is a hypersecretion occur from the adrenal cortex part, then it causes Cushing different hypo and due to the hypo and hypersecretion of the cortex. Now, now, now come to the endocrine gland, and that is pancreas. Pancreas, it is both a dark gland as well as a dark gland. As a dark gland, its secretion, the secretory product is pancreatic juice, and it poured into the duodenum, that is the small intestine, and so it mainly releasing the pancreatic juice into the duodenum, and it is mainly for digestion processes. As a ductless gland, that means if we observe it as an endocrine gland, it has some special hormone secreting cells, and you call them as islets of Langerhans. And this particular part of endocrine part of the pancreas, it is mainly discovered by scientist Langerhans, and it looking like a mini island, and thus it is called islets. So islets of Langerhans, according to the discoverer name. The islet cells, that means this islet of Langerhans part, it mainly secretes three hormones. One is insulin, another is glucagon, and another is somatostatin. And these three hormones, they are mainly released out from the islets of Langerhans from three different portions. Okay, that means there are different type of cells are present in the islets of Langerhans. So this insulin, it is released out from beta cells of the islets of Langerhans. Glucagon, it is mainly from alpha cells of the islets of Langerhans, and from the delta cells of islets of Langerhans, somatostatin hormone mainly released. Now, if we observe their actions on the body, so insulin, which mainly released from the islets of Langerhans, it mainly promotes glucose uptake by body cells. It stimulates deposition of extra glucose as glycogen in liver and muscles. And deficiency of insulin causes diabetes mellitus, which is also known as sugar diabetes. or we can also say another medical term is hyperglycemia. And excess production of insulin causes hypoglycemia, nerve cell starvation, and brain coma. So these are some abnormal situations which may develop due to the over or under secretion of insulin. Glucagon. Glucagon hormone, which mainly released from the alpha cells of islets of Langerhans, it stimulates liver to convert glycogen into glucose. So insulin, they are actually converting the glucose into glycogen, and the opposite phenomena is mainly done by the glucagon, which mainly converting the glycogen into glucose. So this way, these two hormones, they are controlling the glucose or sugar level in the body. Somatostatin, that mainly it mainly released by delta cells of islets of Langerhans, and it mainly inhibits the secretion of insulin and glucagon, or you can say the insulin and glucagon secretion or their action is mainly monitored by the somatostatin hormone. It is wrong to say insulin converts glucose to glycogen. Instead, insulin enables the cells to absorb glucose and use it or convert it into glycogen. Another important endocrine gland is thyroid. Thyroid is a bilobed butterfly shaped structure, and it is situated in front of the neck, just below the larynx. In the thyroid, there are two lobes, and these two lobes are joined by a narrow isthmus. So this isthmus is the interconnecting point of these two lobes of the thyroid. Now this thyroid gland secretes two kind of hormones. One is called thyroxine, another is called calcitonin. Now I am going to discuss about the thyroxine and not the calcitonin, because thyroxine is the main important hormone which is coming out from the thyroid gland, and it is mainly regulating all kind of important function of the thyroid gland. So I'm just going to discuss about this thyroxine part only. So this thyroxine, as I told, it regulates the basal metabolism, and increase in the secretion increases metabolism, and a decrease in the secretion lowers it. It also influences the general growth of the body, ossification of bones, body temperature, and mental development. Now, due to the undersecretion due to the undersecretion of thyroxine hormone, we can say the medical term is known as hypothyroidism. And this insufficient secretion of thyroxine may lead to three conditions, and all are hypothyroidic condition. Okay, and there are some specific names we can also keep them, like simple goiter. It is the enlargement of the thyroid and is visible as a swelling in the neck. It is due to insufficient quantity of iodine in food, and this condition is common in the people living in hilly part where iodine is very less in the soil and hence in the food grown there. Cretinism, this is the condition that affects the growth of children, showing dwarfism and mental retardation. Number 3, myxedema, another ailment that affects an adult if his thyroid does not function properly. And in this condition, the person becomes sluggish with swelling of the face and hands. So these are all hypothyroidic situations: simple goiter, cretinism, myxedema. Now, if you observe the over secretion of thyroxine, that mainly it may leads to hyperthyroidic situation. So excess of thyroxine secretion may also cause a kind of goiter. Okay, so that is known as particularly exophthalmic goiter. A person having this exophthalmic goiter or the over secretory activity of the thyroxine shows a marked increase in metabolic rate, rapid heartbeat, shortness of breath, eyes are protruded, and forms a goiter in the neck. So these are some of the symptoms which we can say we can easily observe in the hyperthyroidic patient. Okay. Now the last important uh, endocrine gland, which I am going to discuss, that is the pituitary gland. And pituitary, it is a small projection about the size of a pea, and it hangs from the base of the midbrain below hypothalamus. Pituitary gland is called as master gland. Why? Because it seems to control practically all other endocrine glands. And this pituitary gland, it has two distinct lobes. One is called anterior pituitary lobe and another is posterior pituitary lobe. Okay, now the front part of the posterior pituitary is different from the rest of the lobe and is called the intermediate lobe. Now this lobe is almost absent in humans but much larger and more functional in some lower animals. So if you observe the intermediate part of the rat mice, you can easily observe this part, but in humans this part is totally absent. Now the hormones which are mainly coming out from the anterior pituitary. So some important hormones produced by the anterior lobes are as follows, like growth hormone, that is in brief known as GH. It is essential for normal growth. It is also known as somatotropin or somatotropic hormone. And the deficiency of this hormone in childhood results in dwarfism, and its oversecretion in childhood results in gigantism. And the oversecretion of GH in adult results in acromegaly. Okay, next, prolactin. Prolactin, that is the another hormone released by the anterior pituitary, and it promotes lactation, that means milk formation and its secretion. Number 3, thyroid stimulating hormone or TSH. It activates thyroid to secrete thyroxine hormone. Number 4, gonad stimulating hormone, which is also called gonadotropin hormone or gonadotropic hormone. It regulates the activities of the testes and ovaries. That means it regulates the activities of gonads, and thus we called it as gonad stimulating hormone. The gonad stimulating hormones are follicle stimulating hormone, in brief FSH, and luteinizing hormone, or in brief it is called LH. Now these FSH in females growth, it helping in females in the growth of Graafian follicles and estrogen secretion, and in males it is helping in spermatogenesis process or sperm formation process. LH in females, it is helping in ovulation, that means the release of ova or egg, and also helping in the maintenance of corpus luteum, the structure which mainly develop after the rupturing of the Graafian follicle in the menstrual cycle, and also it is helping in the secretion process of progesterone. And in males, this LH, it is helping in the secretion activity of testosterone. Number 5, ACTH, and it is called as Adrenocorticotrophic Hormone, and this hormone regulates the activity of adrenal cortex. Now I told you adrenocorticotropic, gonadotropic, thyrotropic. So what is the meaning of this tropic hormone? So the term tropic hormone refers to such hormones which stimulate other endocrine glands to produce their specific hormones. So tropic means influencing the activity. Last part, hormones from the posterior pituitary. The posterior part of pituitary, it produces two hormones named vasopressin, or we can say antidiuretic hormone or ADH, and another hormone is oxytocin. So there are two main hormones from the posterior pituitary. Now this vasopressin or ADH, it constricts blood vessels with rise in blood pressure. It also acts on the kidney and thus increasing reabsorption of water from the kidney tubules. So it is helping in the reabsorption process in the nephron. And deficiency of this hormone causes diabetes insipidus, that is called as water diabetes. Diabetes mellitus was known as sugar diabetes, and diabetes insipidus, it is called as water diabetes, in which urination is frequent, resulting in loss of water from the body, and the person becomes thirsty. So here I got two terms for the diabetes. So what do you mean by diabetes? Diabetes means passing out excessive amounts of urine. There are two types of diabetes: diabetes mellitus and diabetes insipidus. In diabetes mellitus, the urine contains sugar caused due to insufficient insulin. But in diabetes insipidus, there is no sugar in urine. So insipidus means tasteless, referring to the absence of sugar in urine, and mellitus, the term melli means honey or sweet. So that actually I discussed here mainly to know about the diabetes, and it was came from that ADH for discussing the ADH. The first, so this is the first hormone from the posterior pituitary part. The second hormone from the posterior pituitary gland is oxytocin, and this oxytocin vigorous contraction of the uterus in a pregnant mother, leading and and it also stimulates milk. So about the human endocrine system, here through this video I have discussed about the uh, hormone and its introduction, its properties, and the properties I have discussed its uh, chemical natures, and on the basis of the chemical natures their classification, and four important major endocrine glands actually I have discussed through this video, and those are adrenal gland, thyroid gland, pancreas gland, and pituitary gland. So this is about the human endocrine system. So this video is mainly for class 10 standard student. Okay, for class 11 and 12 standard student, that much is not enough. They need to learn more. They need to enrich, they need to add more content about the endocrine system. So it is mainly for class 10 standard student. So hope this video will help you. Mainly I am telling to class 10 students, it will be helpful for you for understanding about the human endocrine system, and this is the basic of the human endocrine system. So through this video actually I have discussed about, I actually tried to discuss about the human endocrine system and their importances in our physiological process. So thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you.